Most people think a house showing is just unlocking the front door and walking a buyer from room to room. But if you're showing your property yourself, the walkthrough matters much more than you think. Professional agents don't leave the experience to chance. They guide the buyer's attention, control the pace, and know when to step back so the buyer can imagine living there. Ciao everyone, I'm Feli and welcome back. I'm a real estate investor, interior designer and property flipper. And today I want to share what I've learned about presenting a home in a way that actually helps buyer connect with it. Chapter 1. You see, the showing doesn't actually start when the buyer walks through the front door. It starts at the moment they pull up to the curb, and you need to be there early enough to remove every tiny piece of friction before they even see it. You're turning on every single light, even the ones in the closet. You're opening the blinds to let natural light in, and you're adjusting the temperature so the home feels comfortable the second they step inside. Basically, controlling the environment means getting the house to a baseline of zero distraction. If the house feels hot, cold, dark or stuffy, buyers unconsciously attach that heavy feeling to the property itself. Honestly, I've seen buyers lose interest in perfectly good homes just because the AC was off and the living room felt uncomfortable. Now, depending on the property, you also need to think about presentation differently. If the house is vacant, the goal is to make it feel clean, bright and easy to mentally furnish. But if it's being sold fully furnished, small lifestyle touches can make a huge difference. Simple things like neatly staged bed, folded towels in the bathrooms, or even a fruit bowl on the kitchen counter subtly help buyers picture themselves already living there. Now, removing friction is the other half of this equation. You want to unlock the doors and make sure you aren't fumbling with a lockbox while they stand behind you watching. That awkward waiting time just kills the momentum before they even step inside, and it makes you look unprepared, or worse, nervous. So make it a hard rule to arrive 15 minutes before the buyer gets there. Do your own walkthrough to flip the switches, unlock the deadbolts, and be standing near the front door ready to greet them with a smile, not a sweat. You want to welcome them into a space that feels prepared and polished rather than rushing up the driveway at the exact same time they do. Once that stage is set, you can put 100% of your focus on their arrival and their energy. But look, getting the house ready is just the foundation, because the way you handle those first 30 seconds of the tour is what really sets the tone for the rest of the visit. Chapter 2. Once you get the door open, the worst thing you can possibly do is stand in the entryway and start giving a history lesson about the house. Those first 30 seconds dictate the entire mood, and buyers just need some space to breathe and take it all in. That initial pause is so critical because the buyer is transitioning from the outside world into a brand new space. They're adjusting to the light and temperature, and they're getting a first impression of the smell and the layout. You want to welcome them warmly, point out where the main living area is, and then, well, you just shut up. I think this is the part most people and even experienced agents get wrong, because silence feels uncomfortable, so they'll fill it by pointing out things the buyer can already clearly see, like here's the floor or here's the ceiling. Establishing the pace happens right after they settle in. Give them a brief orientation of the main floor and then invite them to walk through the living spaces first. You are setting the rhythm and showing them that you are the guide without making them feel like they're being rushed through the front hall on a speed tour. Just give them that quiet moment right inside the door without crowding their personal space. Welcome them, tell them to take their time, and let them absorb that first impression without having to listen to a pitch about square footage. Let the house do the talking on their first minute, and then you can start guiding the movement through the actual floor plan in a way that feels natural. Now, once they've taken that first breath, the way you physically position yourself through the rest of the house determines whether they feel guided or just managed. Chapter 3. As you move through the property, your physical position matters just as much as what you're saying. You need to guide the direction of the tour without trapping them in small rooms or standing in the way of the best features. Leading from behind is usually the safest way to walk a buyer through a house. You tell them which room is next, but you let them walk into it first. When they step into the primary bedroom or the kitchen, they need to feel the space as if it belongs to them, and they can't do that if your back is the first thing they see. You want them to walk into the wow moment while you stay on the periphery. Spatial awareness becomes a massive issue in bathrooms and closets too. You never follow a buyer into a tight space because it instantly makes the room feel small and overcrowded. You stand in the hallway, you let them go in, and you wait for them to come back out. Honestly, this is one simple shift makes every house feel 10% bigger, just because the buyer never feels physically cornered by another person. So, practice walking a step behind your clients and directing them with your words rather than pulling them by the hand. Let them cross the threshold of every room first and stay out of the tight spaces entirely so they can explore without feeling crowded. Once you've finished seeing the highlights, you can let them go back on their own to solidify the layout in their heads while you stay available for questions. Managing that flow is essential, but real trust is built on how you handle the parts of the house that aren't exactly Instagram ready. Every house has something wrong with it, and your job isn't to pretend those flaws don't exist. When you hit the weird layout or the tiny secondary bedroom, you have to address it before they do. Owning the negative builds way more trust than trying to ignore it. If the backyard is small, you don't call it cozy. You just acknowledge that the lot size is limited and then pivot to the maintenance advantage or the proximity to a park. When buyers see a flaw that you are trying to gloss over, they immediately start wondering what else you're hiding from them, and they go on high alert. The silent observation is how you gauge their real reaction. When they find something they don't like, just let them talk about it. You listen, you validate the concern, and you don't immediately jump into defense mode for the seller. I've seen agents argue with me about why a cramped kitchen is actually fine, and let me tell you, it never results in an offer, but a loss of trust on the person that is showing the house. When you walk into the worst room in the house, just name the elephant in the room, acknowledge it, answer their question honestly, and then gently guide them towards the next space without making a big deal out of it. Your honesty here is what makes your praise of the house good part actually believable. The ultimate goal of a showing isn't for the buyer to see the house, it's for them to imagine living in it. And you see, that requires you to create a visualization gap when you step back and let them take ownership of the space. This is the moment where you stop being the tour guide and start being the consultant. Once you have seen the whole house, you want to invite them back into their favorite room and just let them sit there for a second. Don't talk about the schools or the taxes and the service charges yet. Just let them feel the light in the kitchen or the view from the deck. And if the property has been renovated, this is also the perfect time to reinforce confidence. A really smart practice is putting together a simple booklet with the materials used during the renovation, warranty details, supplier contact, and even maintenance information for installed system or appliances. Buyers are naturally cautious with renovated homes because they worry corners were cut behind the walls. Giving them that level of detail instantly makes the property feel more trustworthy and professionally handled. Also, if you're flipping a property, I've put together a resource that can help you approach the process in a smarter, more strategic way. So check the link below. And if the home is being sold furnished, always make it clear that some furniture pieces can be included, removed, or renegotiated separately, because that flexibility helps buyer picture the home working around their lifestyle instead of feeling locked into someone else's setup. Most agents are so afraid of silence that they keep talking and talking, effectively blocking the buyer from having an internal conversation with themselves. If you can provide the data when asked, but provide the silence when needed, you're miles ahead of the competition. You want to facilitate the dreaming phase of the showing, not just the viewing phase. Wrap up the tour by asking them a simple, open-ended question like, could you see yourself living in the space? Then give them 5 minutes of private time to walk through one last time without you hovering. The gesture of trust often leads to the most honest conversation and ultimately the offer you're looking for. In a nutshell, when you control the environment and give buyers the physical space to actually feel the home, they stop looking at the walls and start picturing their lives inside them. So, if you're flipping a property, I've put together a resource that can help you approach the process in a smarter, more strategic way. So check the link below. I really hope this video gave you some useful ideas, and if it did, please support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and leaving a comment. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the opposite situation, when you are the one going to a house viewing, what to check, what questions to ask, and which red flags you should never ignore. And I'll see you there.